Hey y'all, so today we're talking about MILS plating on an angle. This is something I've been playing around with quite a bit and using what's called a sugar grid or super grid depending on what or who you learned it from. And I'm going to show you what I did to work that idea into a MILS plate and use it to create some fun angles. So let's go take a look at what I did and then I'll show you kind of how I did it. Okay, so obviously this is the Seaside Markets from the Bricklink Designer Program. These are actually, almost none of this is actually from the real set. This was 2 modules that I added on, and this was a module I mocked, so I guess it's kind of the Seaside. Anyways, this is what I'm talking about. So you can see this is like securely fastened down, worked into the MILS plate, but it actually lines up with this angled plate all the way along here. So this is off grid, like way off grid, and this is on grid, and yet they meet up perfectly here. Now obviously you can tell that I kind of messed up a little bit in that my spacing alignment wasn't quite right. You can see over here too, so I'll just need to figure out something to kind of cover that, because it just didn't quite work out the way that it probably should have, but that's okay. I didn't feel like redoing it, but as you can see, this is all the way along here, and then this is a little preview of kind of what I'm talking about for a sugar grid. So let me flip over to my demo model. I'll show you what's going on here. Okay, so the concept here is just some math that happens to work out in that if you lay studs out in a certain pattern, they create a separate grid that both works in the normal grid variant, right, which would be that way, and in a alternate grid variant like that. You can see that that smushes over. And the reason that there's tile in here is because if you don't tile under it, it gets a little squishy. And so I learned after the fact that you need to really probably tile under it. But anyways, so that's the grid. And you can see here as this popped up that it kind of like selects them, throughout the plate in different places so that it actually attaches. Let's see if I can do this. It's hard to do one-handed, y'all. I don't even know. Oh my gosh. This way. There we go. So it attaches back down. Now, you're looking at this going, but wait, Travis, that doesn't line up with the angle. You're right. I then place another sugar grid on top of this to actually get the right angle. So you can see here, this is where the plates misalign or align. But I have this sugar grid, and then I have this slightly larger sugar grid placed on top of this to actually create that angle. And so I have this little demo mock-up here. So you can see that there's the bottom sugar grid, right? There's the tile and the plate just like what's right there. And then there's the plate, which is acting as if this was here. And then there's this next sugar grid, which is actually a little bit larger, that I've done up a brick and a plate to get me up to level, right? That is what actually gets me back into line with the angle plate here. So the next one up is actually a much larger sugar grid. Let me grab some bricks and show you that real quick. So the way that I think of this is that this sugar grid is based on the 2x2 center fill. The next grid up that I used is actually based on a 4x4 center fill. And so the way I always think about it is you go here, you do the opposite. So it's the next one over and opposite. And then it's so that these two sizes are equal. And then the opposite. Then you pop that out. And then there's the next sugar grid that I used up. Now, I also stuck a 2x4 or a 2x2 in the middle with a tile as well, again, to prevent from squishiness. But then you stick another plate on here, and then that's how you end up with this. There's all different types of variants here. I could do this one on the bottom and then this one on top. You can go out, you can do a 6x6 in the middle, and you get all different types of angles based on how big this inner circle is. And then obviously there's also the inverse of this as well, right? I can move this one over, this one over, this one over, this one over, and that would also get me a different angle as well. So the cool thing about this too is that in addition to, sorry, I shouldn't be doing this with one hand. I should have done this with two hands. In addition to it being able to turn on the side, right, like this or whatever, you can also just remount them right back to being straight on as well. So you can kind of intermix and go on and so forth. So the reason, though, I did this way, and you'll be like, Travis, why didn't you just go down a brick, just do it, you know, whatever, in a much shorter fashion, right? Like I'm burning almost a whole nother MILS plate worth of bricks in this middle section, right, to get that angle. And the reason I'm doing that is because in this situation, I needed the water plate to slide in between the bottom angled bits and the top angled bits, right? So that I could keep this on grid, slide this right in between basically those two sections. So the angle, or so the water basically slides in right between here. The angle or the water goes right in between here, so that when I stick this, which is actually the model, right down onto top to be flush with this part, it's also sitting right on top of the water as well. And so that's why I did it that way. You could, in theory, just put another plate tile level in the new sugar grid, stick this right down on top, and then you would be right in line if I was another, if I was on a normal MILS plate, right? Because that's just, a normal MILS plate would be 4 plates, right? And that's basically 4 plates to get you to where you would need to be. But I needed to get that water plate in there on a normal grid, and so that's why I did it on this. So this has been a really interesting project to kind of try and work on and figure out and go through. There's all types of other and better videos about sugar grids and explaining some other uses, but this is the first one that I've seen, or that I've not seen anyone use it into an actual MILS plate. And so that's something I wanted to do. I've also used it for this as well. So I put a sugar grid underneath this so that this is actually sitting off axis. The cool thing is that it is both stuck onto studs in the main section. This also is even stuck onto some studs as well, because I just carried the sugar grid across the little opening here and stuck the sugar grid onto this, and so that this would lock in as well. So it's really kind of a useful tool to get in and out of your standard Lego grid. And I think building off the grid adds a whole lot. So I'm going to go ahead and get some more of this done, and then I'll show you kind of how this next grid on top of this looks like before I start to place the pieces in. Okay, so hopefully this kind of gives you a better idea of what's going on here. So here's the first layer of the sugar grid. Here's the second layer of the sugar grid. As you can see, I could fill all the space in, but again, it's really not needed. But that center support does help a little bit. And then you can see this is the water in the standard grid that comes all the way in. And now you might be thinking, now, Travis, how do you pick how far in to come with this water and where to stop and all that? I use based on the module. I'm gonna try to do this with one hand. So you can see that when I go to set this module in, that the water at least covers all the way back to where it should. And really, once that module's in there, like, you can't even tell that there's like water under there, but there is a little seam there that I will put a little light under there to highlight that. So I mean, I guess you kind of do, but you can see even over here that there's still water all the way to that point. And if I were to in fact push this down, this would snap into the studs that are sticking up on the 1x1s and lock itself in. I'm not going to do that right now though, because I still want to do some more work on this. I need to finish getting some of this stuff under here, and I need to get tile under here before I actually lock it down and do all those things. And I actually might go ahead and add lights too before I lock it down, because I didn't do that over here and it's been kind of annoying, which is why this is kind of sat here like this for a while. And so I'm probably not going to lock that down right now, but hopefully you get the idea. You can see on this back side, it lines up here with that edge perfectly, and you know, all the things just like this side. And so putting in this edge, after I got this edge started, go ahead and putting this edge in all the way really made it easy for me to kind of let this piece ride against that back edge so that I can see where the water line needs to stop or start, as it were. And then as you can see, I actually needed to do a double layer plate. This is that really brittle green, so I don't really care about it. So I'm just like using it in any place that I can to make up for it. And so I will plate over this, obviously, with this whatever color. Back here, I actually chose to just go ahead and put the top plate on rather than plate on plate like I do over here, just because that's all going to be that light aqua because it's shallow water under there anyways. So I don't need to add any other colors in there like I do out here maybe. So that's why I kind of chose to do it that way rather than this way. But this is basically the same thing, you know. But anyways, hopefully that makes that a little more clear. I'm going to keep working on this. This is going to take me a little bit because I got to do this corner. That's going to be a little weird. And this has definitely been a bit of a daunting project, if I'm being real honest, and very part consuming. You're basically making like 3 MILS plates stuck together. And then plating on top of plate is also just a little bit crazy. But here we are. I think this is well worth it. I think this is going to be really cool once it's all done and lit up and all that jazz. But drop any questions or comments down below. And if there's enough questions and comments, I will try to make up a follow-up video, especially once I get this all done. Obviously, I'll do a follow-up video once this is all done and lit up and all that. But in the meantime, if there's any comments, questions, I'll try to answer them. If you have questions about the sugar grid, the best thing to do is I'm going to link the page in the description that I watched to learn a whole bunch about the super grid and all that. It's a YouTube channel called Brick Sculpt. He has a lot of great informational, nerdy math, Lego math related videos. And he has quite a few videos about this super grid situation that's really useful. So I'm going to link that below in the comment or in the description as well, because that's probably a better source than me, because I'm still kind of figuring this whole thing out. So anyways, thanks y'all. Also, if you would like to catch me live, I'm on Twitch on Wednesday nights and Saturday afternoons. So make sure you go follow me there. It's the same username, just without the first underscore. And make sure you like and follow here as well. Thanks, y'all.